Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're holding up a mirror to a nearly universal human experience to unravel the psychological mechanics behind our own self-criticism. We've literally all been there, right? Lying awake at 2 in the morning, endlessly replaying some minor misstep. Maybe you stumbled over your words in a morning meeting, or you sent a mildly embarrassing text to the wrong person, and your brain just absolutely refuses to let it go. But why do we do it? Why is that inner voice so incredibly loud, so uniquely unforgiving, and frankly, such a bully over things that objectively don't really matter that much? So let's dive right into this profound question. Why are you so hard on yourself? Take a moment and just let the reality of your own internal habits wash over you. Think about the very last time you messed up, even just a little bit. What did that inner voice actually sound like? Well, research tells us the average person has tens of thousands of thoughts a day, and a shockingly high percentage of those, some studies estimate up to 80%, lean negative when we're under stress. Was your voice kind, or was it totally relentless? It's a question we rarely stop to ask ourselves, yet it dictates so much of our daily happiness and mental well-being. And it sets up this glaring, kind of wild paradox in human empathy. Think about it. When a friend makes a mistake, let's say they accidentally spill coffee all over your car seat, your instinct is to jump in and comfort them. You tell them, hey, it's completely fine, everyone makes mistakes, don't even worry about it. Your tone is super warm and forgiving. But when you make that exact same mistake, oh, no way. The warmth just vanishes instantly. You unleash this secret self-hatred that you reserve entirely for yourself. Suddenly, you're the clumsiest, most irresponsible person on the planet. It's a wildly unbalanced way we distribute grace.
So, let's move on to Section 1, the double standard between your friends and you.
This double standard is really the emotional hook here, because it makes us realize our internal rulebook is completely skewed. And understanding how we shift from this simple contradiction into this invisible trap we actively set for ourselves, well, it's pretty eye-opening. We don't just wake up and decide to be miserable. Instead, we build this psychological snare, wire by wire, mostly without even realizing we're doing it. Think about a typical Monday morning. You sit at your desk and secretly promise yourself you'll be 100% productive for the next 8 hours straight, right? Leaving absolutely zero room for regular human fatigue or, a delayed train. We are laying the groundwork for our own failure long before we ever actually make a mistake.
Which brings us to Section 2, our impossible standards. Now, this is where the real tension comes in, the punishing metrics we use to measure our own self-worth. Our source material zeroes in on this exact critical phrase, impossible standards. We set these metrics for ourselves, and by their very definition, they are fundamentally designed to guarantee failure. I mean, if a standard is literally impossible to meet, like expecting yourself to never, ever feel anxious during a public presentation, or expecting to master a complex new skill on your very first try, you're inevitably going to fall short. And when you do, boom, it validates that harsh inner critic. It's basically a rigged game you're playing against yourself, ensuring that you can never truly win. You can see how this weight compounds into a really specific destructive sequence. First, we set these impossible standards, building that invisible trap. Then, when we inevitably trip over them, we undergo this brutal internal shift. We take a simple, everyday mistake and turn it into a deep, defining flaw in our identity. And finally, we completely forget that what happened was just a behavior, just a tiny, momentary blip in time. This exact sequence leads us directly to the core mechanical error in our thinking, and it locks us into a cycle of self-blame that's incredibly hard to break out of. All right, let's pivot to Section 3, behavior versus identity. The trap lies in how we define our actions, and this right here is the psychological revelation that's going to completely shift how you view your own self-criticism. Think about a mistake as a behavior. This is just an isolated action you took. You dropped a glass in a kitchen. You missed a deadline at work by an hour. You said the wrong thing at a dinner party. It's finite. But an identity flaw? That implies a fundamental, pervasive defect in who you are at your core. The trap is that we incorrectly interpret a mistake not as something we merely did in a passing moment, but as a permanent, defining characteristic. So when we fail those impossible metrics we talked about earlier, we immediately cross this super dangerous line from a simple behavior into a deep identity flaw. Instead of focusing on what you did, the focus instantly turns into who you are. The internal monologue goes completely off the rails. Instead of thinking, okay, I made a bad choice, which is just a manageable behavior, your brain screams, I am a bad person. Or instead of, I failed that test, it suddenly becomes, I am a complete failure. That massive psychological leap from action to identity, that is the absolute fuel for our secret self-hatred. So here is the absolute ultimate takeaway for today. You are not your mistakes. Seriously, take a second to really let that settle in. Learning to separate the behavior, which is just a transient action that happened in the past, from your actual enduring identity is exactly how you stop that secret self-hatred in its tracks. A behavior can be analyzed objectively. A behavior can be corrected for next time. An identity, though, that feels heavy and totally unchangeable. By recognizing the mistake as a temporary action rather than some permanent tattoo on your character, you reclaim the power to grow, adapt, and move forward without constantly tearing yourself down. I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to carry with you long after this explainer ends. How are you going to treat your next mistake? Because let's be real, you're absolutely going to make another one. We all will. It's just a fundamental part of being human. But my challenge to you is this. When that next mistake inevitably happens, try catching that internal leap from behavior to identity. Actually, scratch that. Don't just try to catch it. Stop it. And try to finally show yourself the exact same warmth, grace, and forgiveness that you so easily offer your friends. Thanks for learning with me today.